请收看《唯心世界义工利人天》。
慈航为太平，万千万神来朝礼，共传世界永和平。三六天罡南天来，七二天是天心爱。五代尊者独足礼，五三如来生门开。
Good morning, everybody. We're happy to be here this morning and see so many of you after the exhausting activities of the past 3 days. Our panel today is about philosophical perspectives. The program calls for 4 speakers, but Liu Jing from Shandong has not been able to get here. So we have 3 speakers in the order in which they are seated. And each speaker will have 25 minutes. All right. So we do have the warning signs for 10 minutes and so on over there. They will show you when to stop. Our first speaker is Devin Joshi, who comes to us from Singapore, and his topic is the ethics of a Taoist sage, lessons from Wenzi.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I'll stand up for this one. Thank you for the introduction, Livia, and good morning to all of you. Yeah, my paper is titled The Ethics of a Taoist Sage, Lessons from Wenzi. And there's no PowerPoint, so I'm just going to read parts of the paper to you. I'll begin. Classical Taoist thought maintains that individuals and societies have lost their way by falling into a tragic state of disconnectedness from the way, Tao, the source of all life and creativity. What the Taoist classics tell us is that deviating from the way, the generative source of everything in the universe, is a form of corruption and the primary source of our discontent. In response to this tragedy, the solution offered by many Taoist classical texts relies on the role of sages who are uniquely positioned, due to already being in harmony with the way, to bring society more in line with the way. These unique people live peaceful, contented lives and possess a special ability to potentially help return the whole world to a state of great peace. But what exactly is the ethical character of a Taoist sage? How do we recognize a sage? As explored here in the classic of Wenzi, I find Taoist sagely ethics revolves around the 8 following principles of humility, relative obscurity, tranquility, sincerity, meditation, impartiality, loving kindness, and emptiness simplicity. Okay, the next part of the paper discusses Wenzi. I think many of you are already familiar with Wenzi, so I'm going to skip over that here. Okay, let me jump into the 8 ethical characteristics. A first key principle is humility. As described by Wenzi, this involves neither bragging nor boasting about one's knowledge, one's good deeds, or one's spiritual accomplishments. Practicing humility means neither putting other people down nor indirectly communicating one's superiority over others in any sort of way. It suggests a general orientation towards not talking too much, allocating a much greater share of time to listening and to silence than to speaking. In addition to humility impacting what we say and refrain from saying, Wenzel's conception of humility implies being willing to calmly, unresentfully, and unbegrudgingly accept low status in the world, and a willingness to accept the lowest positions within social organizations, such as at one's workplace, one's religious community, one's school, etc. Also in social groups, such as amongst friends or family members, and in society at large. This is in spite of the sage's abilities and accomplishments, attainments and awareness that may very well be at a significantly higher level than others around them. Key to achieving such humility is detaching from one's ego, and instead of comparing oneself to others, one completely focuses one's attention on one's own immeasurably inferior capabilities and status vis-a-vis the great Tao of the universe, the source of all life and the myriad things. As Wenzel explains, quote, sages lower themselves with humility, withdrawing to put themselves last, minimizing themselves by frugality, and lessening themselves by detachment. By being lesser, they become great. Another quote, sages do not seek renown for their acts and do not seek praise for their knowledge. Their management follows nature spontaneously without them adding anything themselves. Another quote, ideal people do not put on an outward show of humanity and justice, but inwardly they cultivate the virtues of the way. As seen in these excerpts, the ideal person does not put on an outward show of their greatness and morality. They are neither extravagant nor arrogant. They are uncontrived and humble to all. In line with humility, a second ethical principle of Taoist sages found in Wenzi can be labeled as, quote, relative obscurity. In the same way that the Tao is relatively obscure, that is not noticed by most, but still benevolent, sages are like this too. Sages are not necessarily totally hidden from public view. Rather, the important point is that they restrain themselves in their actions and they refrain from being in and seeking out the limelight. Sages do not pursue fame or reputation, nor do they seek popularity, notoriety, or having much in the way of possessions or profits. What sages succeed in doing is just to get the necessary work done without seeking attention or praise for it. This is precisely the way of the great Tao of the cosmos, which is the source of all life and creativity, even though most people fail to discern this or to appreciate it. Like the unobservable Tao that gives life to all things, sages nurture life and avoid public recognition and accolades. As Wenzi notes, quote, as heaven gives birth to beings, no one can see it nurturing, yet all beings grow. Sages emulate this. When they promote blessings, no one sees how they do it, yet blessings arise. And when they remove calamities, no one sees how it happens, yet calamities disappear. Sages are not ostentatious when successful and not fearful when destitute. They do not show off when famous, and they are not ashamed to be unknown. A third ethical imperative of Taoist sages mentioned by Wenzi is tranquility. Unlike ordinary men and women who are often impatient, frequently stressed, and typically dissatisfied with something or other in their lives, sages are perfectly at ease. Sages are relaxed rather than stressed and enjoy an internal peace of mind. They are calm and not easily perturbed by things. As Wenzi relates, quote, "Great people are peaceful and have no longings. They are calm and have no worries. Those who embody the way do not become angry or overjoyed. Real people, they sleep without dreams and awake without worries. Sages pass their lives in peaceful serenity and open calm, neither alienating anyone nor cleaving to anyone. Embracing virtue, they are warm and harmonious, thereby following heaven, meeting with the way, and being near to virtue. They do not start anything for profit or initiate anything that would cause harm. The sage's tranquility is so thorough, they remain unshaken and unstirred even when a catastrophe or emergency arises." Quote, "When nothing can be done about something, enlightened people do not concern themselves with it." Another quote, "To use a finite lifetime to worry and grieve over the chaos of the world is like weeping into a river to increase its water in fear of it drying up. Those who do not worry about the chaos of the world, but enjoy order in their own bodies, can be engaged in conversation about the way." A fourth ethical characteristic of the Taoist sage, as described by Wenzi, can be called sincerity and trustworthiness. For Wenzi, this refers to being uncontrived, meaning to live in a way that is full of genuineness and authenticity. Not faking, not pretending, being real and true to one's actual being, thoughts, and feelings. Pursuing sincerity includes being open-minded to perceive the truth and pursuing genuine knowledge of the Tao rather than having one's thoughts and perceptions about life be determined or overwhelmingly shaped by typical socialization processes. In Wenzi's view, to be sincere is to be without contrivance, just like the Tao. Quote, "The great way has no contrivance. Without contrivance, there is no possessiveness. It is imperative to keep to the great way as the mother of the world." Another quote, "Realize genuine knowledge and don't use twisted reasoning. Keep yourself open, unminding, and you may attain clarity and all-around mastery. How could this be unknowing?" Another quote, "There is nothing that truth does not penetrate. Real people act without contrivance, work without striving, and know without intellectualizing." As Wenzi repeatedly emphasizes, sages are sincere and genuine. They do not just put on a show pretending to be virtuous. They are truly virtuous, and there's nothing uncontrived or there's nothing contrived about them. Okay, the text of Wenzi also emphasizes how meditation, a fifth principle, forms an integral part of the Taoist sage's ethics and way of life. Meditation is a pathway to experiencing greater tranquility and sincerity in life and taking inspiration from the Tao. Hence, the sage takes refuge in meditation as a key component of their spiritual cultivation. As Wenzi describes it, the process of meditation is a means for sages to regularly reconnect with the Tao. Wenzi says, quote, "Clarifying their eyes, they do not look. Quieting their ears, they do not listen. Closing their mouths, they do not speak. Letting their minds be, they do not think. Abandoning intellectualism, they return to utter simplicity. Resting their vital spirit, they detach from knowledge. Therefore, they have no likes or dislikes. This is called great attainment." Another quote, "As to the roaming of sages, they move in utter emptiness. Let their minds meander in the great nothingness. They run beyond convention and go through where there is no gateway. They listen to the soundless and look at the formless. They are not constrained by society and not bound to its customs. Meditation end of quote. Meditation as discussed in multiple passages of Wenzi is valuable because it leads us to become more humble and less interested in fame or reputation. It can provide a freedom that is unparalleled by anything else in this world. A sixth characteristic of the Taoist sage's ethics found in Wenzi is impartiality. This principle is yet again a way of imitating and resembling the Tao. It is based on a crucial recognition that the Tao creates and nourishes all life and therefore has neither likes nor dislikes in the conventional sense. It does not mean that one should be indifferent. Rather, one should think, act, and love without prejudice or discrimination. The Tao seemingly supports everyone's and everything's development without bias or favoritism, as does the sage. Quote, "The way of heaven has no personal preferences or personal rejection." Another quote, "Universal benefit without discrimination is one with heaven and earth. If you are in a subordinate position, don't be ashamed of your problems. If you are wealthy, don't be arrogant. If you are poor, don't steal. Always keep impartial, universal love and do not let it fade." Another quote, "To the sages, nothing pleases them, nothing pains them. Nothing delights them, and nothing angers them. All things are mysteriously the same. There is neither right nor wrong." Okay, I'm going to skip over some quotes in the interest of time. Okay, go to the seventh principle, which is loving kindness. In the Wenzi, one also observes that Taoist sages are not just interested in benefiting themselves. Rather, the sage is someone who is caring and loving in their thoughts and actions towards others. As Wenzi asserts, quote, "Disliking exclusivism..." Oh, I get 10 minutes. Okay, I'll go back. I'll give you more quotes. No, just kidding. Oh, all right. I can be very calm like a sage now. Okay. Okay, where was I? I got lost. Yeah, loving kindness. Okay. The sage is someone who is caring and loving in their thoughts and actions towards others. As Wenzi asserts, quote, "Disliking exclusivism and loving everyone are made of the world." Another quote, when sages govern people, they see to it that people suit their individual natures, are secure in their homes, live where they are comfortable, work at what they can do, manage what they can handle, and give their best. In this way, all people are equal, with no way to overshadow each other. Another quote, "If there is love for people, no one is punished because of a grudge." Another quote, "When the rulers are wise, they guide and judge fairly. Wise and good people are in office. Skilled and capable people are at work. Wealth is distributed downward, and all the people are aware of their blessings." Okay, end of quote. Wenzi calls for loving kindness in both our thoughts, or in one's thoughts and one's actions. Sage kings make sure that people are safe and have food to eat. Sages are mentally attuned to finding out what the common people need so those needs can be met. Another quote, "The mind of sages does not forget the desire to help others day or night, and the extent to which its benefit reaches is far indeed." Another quote, "Sages do not worry whether their own lives will be short. They worry about the hardships of the common people. Therefore, they are always empty and uncontrived, embracing the elemental and seeing the basic, not getting mixed up in things." Okay, the final ethical principle is emptiness and simplicity. In the Wenzi, sageliness is characterized by letting go of unnecessary desires and excesses in one's life and in one's head. The key is to be neither overly ambitious nor to exhaust the body. This implies having a proper work-life balance in order to keep one's mind and body in a healthy condition. As Wenzi tells us, unadulterated purity and plain simplicity are the trunk of the way. Emptiness means there is no burden within. Evenness means the mind is untrammeled. When habitual desires do not burden you, this is the consummation of emptiness. Real people embody this through open emptiness, even easiness, clear cleanness, flexible yielding, unadulterated purity, and plain simplicity. Their perfect virtue is the way of heaven and earth, so they are called real people. Okay, another quote. Sages do not dare to be excessive. They use non-being to respond to being and are sure to find out the reason. They use emptiness to receive fullness and are sure to find out the measure. Okay, end of quotes. Simplicity is about reducing thoughts in one's mind, as well as reducing demands on one's body. Therefore, sages choose to live moderately, in a basic, pure, and simple way. Okay, to conclude, as identified in this study, there are certain core ethical characteristics of the Taoist sage as found in the received text of the Wenzi. These ethical qualities include humility, relative obscurity, tranquility, sincerity, meditation, impartiality, loving kindness, and emptiness simplicity. These principles are reiterated at multiple points throughout the text of the Wenzi and are in tune with the characteristics of the true or sacred person observable in a number of other Taoist classics. Based on the foregoing analysis, there are several concluding observations I would like to emphasize about the ethics of the Taoist sage. Firstly, as the discussion above illustrates, the Taoist sage ideal, as described in Wenzi, is neither aethical nor unethical. Clearly, there is an ethical disposition to the Taoist sage, and what distinguishes the Taoist sage from, say, the Buddhist monk, the Confucian gentleman, or the Catholic priest, among others, is that the ethical considerations and priorities among these archetypes are not identical. Secondly, I would like to clarify that I am not asserting here that the 8 ethical principles mentioned above are the only qualities of a Taoist sage as depicted by Wenzi, nor do I make any claims about their rank order or prioritization, nor does Wenzi. What we can say with confidence is that these 8 ethical principles feature prominently in Wenzi's description of the Taoist sage, and these principles are also found in Lao Tzu's Tao Te Ching and other Taoist classics as well. Okay, I think I'll just skip to the end part now. Okay. Another point is that becoming a sage is also not something that just happens to someone after they become a leader. Rather, the causal sequence is the other way around. As Wenzi explains, sages must overcome ethical deficits and failures in their own lives and get their self in order before governing others. This refers to valuing and taking good care of the self that the Tao has given us, and it implies that political leaders must be a spiritual leader, or at least spiritually fit. People become in tune with the way when sages cultivate the way in themselves first. Sages can then cultivate it in others by way of their mindset and behavior as a model. To conclude, Key ethical principles of the Taoist sage are spelled out in the text of the received Wenzi. These principles provide guidance not only for understanding a particular model of behavior that has been cherished and admired for over 2 millennia within the Taoist tradition, but also give the modern-day Taoist adept or aspirant a guide by which to live their lives. Thank you very much. 谢谢.